Hey y'all, welcome back to Homestead. Guys, we are going to do a video today on a topic that I have been researching lately, and that is how to plant by the signs. So with signs, where that comes from, that is an old Appalachian tradition, especially. People in Appalachia, or even my area, my great-grandmother did this. Now we are at the very tip of the Appalachian Mountains here where we live in Alabama, but people would plant by the Zodiac, the 12 signs. And most people think of today like, well, if you're born April the 1st, like I am, you're an Aries, okay? Same thing. There's 12 different signs, and each sign makes a decision whether it's a good day to plant or not. Now, this is a lot of folklore. This is an old tradition, and many people do not know of this these days. So what I'm going to do for our next garden in the spring is plant by the signs. I've done a lot of research on this, guys. There is very limited research. The article that I'm going to use to explain everything to you, I've taken notes off of it. I'm going to post in the link of the description, and I'm also going to post the link for this right here. I did a short on this, YouTube short, Foxfire Books. Foxfire Books tells you of all old Appalachian ways, and it talks about planting by the signs. So, this is Foxfire number 11. I'll post the link to purchase this if you'd like in the description of the video. A lot of people don't know of these books, guys. This right here would be the first book that I get if I wanted to homestead and learn how to do the old way of gardening and farming, okay? So, the other night I was reading this, and I've underlined some notes here where it talks about planting by the signs. This is volume 11. The Foxfire book, which is volume 1, there's I think like 13 total. I've got everything but the very first one, the Foxfire book. It talks about planting by the signs, and then volume 11, okay? So the people here, I've underlined just some stuff I'm going to tell you. Never plant when the signs are in the heart. They will rot in the ground. Beans should be planted when the signs are in the arms. Now, this is all subjective. This is by what people have noticed works for them. You may go ask your neighbor down the road and they tell you something totally different. There's some general rules that you follow, but this stuff is very subjective in what works best for each family. This takes a long time to understand this stuff and see what works best, okay? So they talk about all sorts of stuff. Anything that runs, a vine, plant when the signs are in the arms. Pumpkins, tomatoes, cucumbers, anything is what this person recommended. So it talks about that. So let me tell you about the signs and explain that. I've wrote some notes here. Again, look at the article that I've posted in the description of the video, okay? So the signs are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Now, this is based off of the moon. This is based off of astrological signs, and this is how they determine what is what. Each month, or span of about a month, is when we're all born. Each time, we've all got a sign, okay? Like, I'm an Aries. Also, each day is a sign. I didn't know that until I started learning all of this. So, today might be an Aries. Look this up on the Farmer's Almanac. You can just Google it. What's today's sign, or what's November's signs? And it'll tell you, like November, and I looked it up yesterday. It goes all the way through December. And it'll tell you what is each day, okay? Each day will be different. Usually it's going to be 2 to 3 days of Aries and 2 to 3 days of Virgo. And it goes kind of in a certain order depending on how the moon is, okay? But each day you have different signs. So we understand that. Now, old-timers around these parts would call it planting in the head or the neck, or like the Foxfire did. It said right here, never plant when the signs are in the heart. So how does that match up with the zodiac signs? Well, the Aries is head, Taurus, neck, Gemini, arms, Cancer, breast, Leo, heart, Virgo, belly, Libra, reins, Scorpio, secrets, Sagittarius, thighs, Capricorn, knees, Aquarius, legs, Pisces, feet. So it goes head to toe, head to feet. So a lot of people won't say, well, you don't need to plant in Aries. They'll say you don't need to plant when it's in the head. Okay, that's just old-timey signs and how they called it, which it corresponds with each body part. Okay, all of this, guys, is old folklore, but people either think it is the best thing ever or they think it is total just hogwash. Okay, that's up to you to decide what you think about this, but I would like to try it this year, and we're going to. So let me explain it a little bit more. Each sign, like we'll start with Aries, head. Aries destroys growth. It's for weeds, pests, cultivation. Okay? This is not for planting. This is a bad sign to be planting, but it's great to be weeding. It's a barren sign. It's no good, okay? The Taurus, a neck, you plant a lot of crops. That's great. And the article that I'm using says particularly potatoes and root crops, lettuce, cabbage, and other leafy vegetables. Okay? Gemini arms. Now, we saw in the book, this person said beans should be planted when the signs are in the arms, which is Gemini. Destroys growth, weeds, pests, cultivation, dry. That's the article I got. But this person's saying plant it in the arms. It also says up under here, anything that runs a vine, plant when the signs are in the arms. Pumpkins, tomatoes, cucumbers, just anything. This article's saying don't do that. Again, this is subjective. Cancer, breast, is the most productive sign. It also, by each one in the article, guys, it'll say moist, dry. A lot of this, if you're planting things, you would want it moist, okay? You would want good moist conditions. You wouldn't want it dry, okay? Take it for what it's worth, but Cancer is the best. Leo, heart, the most barren sign. Kills weeds and cultivation, dry, okay? Virgo, belly, barren, cultivation, destroys weeds, pests. Libra, rains, it's so-so. Very good sign for flowers and vines. And I've made a note by that, Libra. Very good sign for flowers and vines. Now, my great-grandmother talked about bloom days. That's when it was in Libra, the rains. Because everything was good for flowers and vines. But it's not that great for fruit. So what they're saying is if you plant when a day is in Libra or a day is in the rains or it is a bloom day, your plants will grow, but they'll bloom and bloom and bloom and not have much fruit. They're not fruitful. They're bloom worthy. So that would be great for flowers. All right, next, Scorpio secrets. Second best behind Cancer for the best growth. Scorpio's great. Sagittarius thighs, barren, but it is good, it says, for planting onions. Cultivation. Capricorn knees, productive and dry. Plant potatoes. Also up here we had plant potatoes for Taurus neck, but it's moist. Now if I didn't want rot in my potatoes, I would probably pick a day when it was in Capricorn and dry. It's just what I would do. Aquarius legs, barren, dry, weed, okay? Weed things out. Pisces feet, moist, fruitful, good for root growth. All right. So there's your signs, the best information I can find. I've literally read this verbatim off of the article that I've posted in the link of the description. All right. So Cancer is your best when everything is in the breast. Second best would be Scorpio when you are in the secrets. Okay. Second best. Pisces, good root development. That's the feet. Taurus, semi-fruitful, okay? And I'm trying to see here, Taurus, that said potatoes, but it's moist. Lettuce, cabbage, your leafy greens that have a lot of water content, okay? Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and Taurus are the 4 best signs. What is your bloom days? Again, Libra, rains. All right. Barren signs, never, ever, ever plant. Leo, Virgo, Aries. Aries is your head, Leo's your heart, Virgo's the belly. Never plant in those. Now, guys, the old Farmer's Almanac used to have all of this stuff. They would talk about this stuff. They still do. They talk about what days are great to fish. Everything. You think about the moon and all that it does. Guys, it controls the tide. The moon controls so many things as far as growth and Animals. We hear coyotes holler in this yard all night long if it's a full moon. Not a full moon, you might hear a little bit, but not like the full moon. You know that they're going to be out there hollering. It's animal instinct. It's controlled by the moon. So if it controls things like that, then, you know, I reason that this may work, okay? Planting by the moon, okay? Again, if you hear planting by the moon, that can kind of mean two different things, and I'm going to talk about that next. This is planting by the signs, which correlates with the moon. Now, you can get your hair cut on certain days. If you want beautiful long hair, you would cut your hair on a day where it would encourage growth. Kind of same thing with pruning. You prune when the moon is waxing, getting bigger, everything's growing, okay, to encourage growth. So on my tomato fungal disease video where I talked about blight and how I prune, and they just kept coming back, I wish I could go back and see if those days that I pruned with fertilizing now and with adding copper spray to those things, if it made them come back even stronger and more vivacious if I planted when the moon was waxing or growing towards the full moon. That's when you want to prune. Now, if you're pruning to get rid of something and you're done, they say prune when the moon is waning, however you pronounce it, when the moon's getting smaller to the new moon, okay? When the moon's going down. When it's going up, getting bigger towards full moon, that's when you want to prune for excellent rebound growth, okay? You wouldn't want to prune your weeds during that time. You would want to prune your plants if you want to encourage growth. There's a lot of stuff to this, guys. From cutting your hair to weaning a baby to whatever, to pickling stuff. They've got, I mean, old timers in old Appalachia would go through this stuff and run their whole lives on this. A lot of people would. So let's talk about the plants, and then I want to talk about the moon, okay? Let's talk about the plants really quick. So go to the Farmer's Almanac, look up these days. Again, each day is different. Like today may be Aries. I have no clue. Tomorrow might be Aries, and then it might be Aquarius, okay? We want to plant when things are in Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, or Taurus, okay? So if I've got, let's see here, I've got California Wonder Bell Pepper that I just ordered from M.I. Gardner. Guys, I like his seeds. They're cheap. He always sends a good bit in each packet. Never had a germination problem. This is one store online that I buy from, M.I. Gardner, okay? He's out of Michigan. I'm in the South. His stuff works fine for me. So if I'm going to transplant this and plant it outside, I would want to plant when it's a Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, or Taurus day. Guess what I started thinking about? If I'm going to start this indoors, I want to start that on one of those days as well. I don't want to start it on an Aries day. I'm going to keep track of all this year and see. And I want to see if this actually works because I'm going to do a blind comparison. I want to tie this in scientifically and see if there's any difference. I want to plant this on a good day and a totally barren day inside and in a controlled environment where I start my seeds. I always start these on a heat mat indoors to get these to germinate. And that won't be long, guys. It will not be long. We're going to start these and see how they do, okay? Now, I've got some tomatoes here. I want to plant them. Again, one of his, large red cherry tomato. I've got another one here, Early Girl Hybrid from Ferrymores. I'm going to start these inside in February when I usually do. But I'm going to start them on a good day, like Cancer, the best day. And then I'm going to start these on Leo, the most barren day. I'm going to see how each one does. Each one and compare, okay? And see how that growth does. It's no different, guys, than looking on the back of your thing here and seeing when to transplant. It's no different, guys. It's no different. It's all the weather, the moon, so we're going to try. Now, if I've got, let's say, M.I. Gardner's got these flowers here. What days would I want to plant those on? Bloom days. Because they're flowers. We want these to bloom and bloom beautifully. So I'm going to plant these in Libra when it's in the rains. Very good sign for flowers and vines. Arms. I'm going to try this. Anything that vines. Cucumber. I'm going to try it on an arm day, and I'm also going to try it on one of the 4 best recommended and see what happens, okay? Now, also, if you plant something above ground, everything I just showed you, above ground crops, let's get into the moon. They say to plant while the moon is waxing, getting larger towards a full moon. Moon gets bigger each night, okay? Above ground crops. If you are planting something below ground, you want to plant it in the dark nights. dark nights while the moon's getting smaller, okay? That's the light is visibly getting smaller. That's what you want to do. Radishes, beets, potatoes, turnips, that's what they say, okay? That's what we're going to try this year. On top of, with the moon phase, looking at those certain days. So we want to find a Cancer day where it's in the breast and plant these that way, okay? I'm going to try it and see, guys. It cannot hurt. Now, as far as the moon, let's talk about the moon. I've got a calendar here that I got from Dollar Tree. I've used all year. And I've turned it to December, okay, where I haven't wrote on it. There's your moon phases right there. You can see, okay? You can look all this up online, but it's got the moon right here so I can see. So if this is showing, and you can get even like day by day moon phases, but if it's showing that it's going to be a full moon and everything is in Cancer or Scorpio, these great signs, that's when I'm going to want to plant some of this stuff or start seeds inside. The moon phases are very, very important, and it still controls all this planting by the signs. So, and I also have in the Foxfire book, I underlined here, you want to plant, it says for plants that grow underground, last 3 nights in the last quarter of the moon before it reaches the new moon. So while it's waning, getting smaller, if it's underground. But they also said here, plant corn on dark nights outside. Don't know if that's going to work or not because corn is an above ground crop. A lot of this is very subjective to what works. We're going to try it all. Now, last but not least, I've searched through all my stuff. I cannot find anything on planting like this except the articles I've talked about, the Foxfire book, and I mean, just none of my stuff has anything. But I was reading through all of my gardening materials the other day, and there's one thing that I bought several years ago, and I want to show that to you. So I've always told you that I struggle with English peas. Well, I bought this manual right here. This is English pea manual, and it's by Danny King, Deep South Homestead. So let me tell you, it's a good, very good little manual. And guys, when I first started on YouTube and started watching any homesteader, Deep South Homestead has a YouTube channel. I have watched every video he's ever done. This man right here is the real deal, him and his wife. Danny has been my inspiration. He's like a grandfather to me that I really never had. Danny's the real deal, okay? So I watch everything they do. He seems old-timey. He seems, you know, he's a Southern guy, kind of like we are. We're kind of, you know, just in the same culture, but he does things the old way, okay? So I said, I wonder if Danny's got anything on this. So I turned to my manual here, and I'm going to post a link for that. I got it off their Etsy store. If you'd like to go buy it, I encourage you. He talks all about these English peas. I want you to see what I flipped to the other day. He tells you when to plant them by the moon phases. So let's see if what he said was with everything else I've read to you. Plant English peas during the light or waxing of the moon while it's getting bigger. Above ground crop. From the day the moon is new to the day the moon is full. So obviously, he does something with this too. Now, I don't know if he does all this as far as what day everything's in, but he's saying the same thing that they're saying right here, okay? Plant when the moon is getting bigger for an above ground crop. That's the only thing out of all my literature, and I have hundreds of garden books, that I could find as far as planting by the moon. You used to could get calendars. My grandmother had one from the phone company. There's funeral home calendars. Ours don't do this anymore. They used to give all the moon phases, planting phases, fishing days, all that on these calendars. Now you can get the Old Farmer's Almanac calendar. I think I'll get myself one this year and see what we can do with that. Look up Planting by the Signs, get familiar with it, and get you a calendar that shows you the moon. Understand the moon phases, okay? Understand waxing, waning. It took me about 2 weeks to kind of grasp all this. There is not a lot of things on YouTube about this. People will talk and talk and talk, but they won't read off to you exactly this kind of stuff, okay? So I hope that this video will reach a lot of people. I want to know if you have ever planted by the signs. Another article that I read the other night, I'm going to wrap it up with this, guys. There was a woman in Kentucky, I believe she had her PhD, and she was a professor at one university. They are trying to get an entire class on this. And she's going from local to local and gathering information. These old timers that would go out and plant this way. And they remember it from their parents, okay? But the kids that were born in the 60s, 70s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, they didn't really pick this up, okay? My generation does not know about this. This is something now, if y'all are watching me, a lot of y'all are older than me, you may have heard of it, but you don't do it, okay? It got lost in that gap right there, but before that, people did this around here religiously, okay? A lot of people did, and they stuck by it. So I would like to preserve it. I love anything kind of old tradition. Let me know if your family did this, and let me know if you remember any sign that worked best. If you still do it, definitely let me know. I would definitely be interested in that, and I'm going to follow it through. And you'll probably see me doing that in late December, starting stuff inside. We're going to get after it. All right, I would recommend getting a farmer's almanac. I use one anyways. I think it's just great information. It's knowledge about planting and everything around. Get you a calendar that shows the moon phases. Read this article that I've posted, okay? Understand it. It's pretty comprehensive. Get you these Foxfire books. I recommend that to anybody. And guys, last but not least, thank you to Deep South Homestead, because if it wasn't for them, I sure wouldn't be here. Everything that I do, they have inspired me. This is English Tea Manual. You can go find it online, and I was mighty proud to see Mr. Danny put that about the moon in there. All right, guys, follow along. We're going to keep after it. We'll see you next time on Harmon Homestead.